What just happened in Washington, D.C. is sending shockwaves across the globe. European leaders flew into the Oval Office thinking that they're just going to lecture Donald J. Trump. But instead, they got a masterclass in strategy. Trump flipped the entire conversation on its head, and in the process, he revealed details of a potential Zelenskyy deal and a Putin strategy that could change everything that we thought we knew about this war. Now, here is the twist. Europe came in demanding conditions, ceasefires, guarantees, and endless delays, but Trump wasn't having it. Nah, he cut straight through the noise, and in one move, one phone call, he outmaneuvered the very leaders who thought that they could put him on the defensive. Now, folks, this is where it gets explosive, because behind the closed doors of that meeting, Trump didn't just hold his ground. He exposed the real flashpoint that nobody wants to talk about. Crimea and NATO. Was Crimea given away years ago in one of the worst deals in history? Was NATO expansion the spark that lit the fire? Or is Europe right to insist that anything short of taking it all back is a surrender? Guys, this is the line in the sand, and Trump forced the world to face it. So in the next couple of minutes, we're going to discuss and actually break down the Putin-Zelenskyy meeting that Trump is setting up right now, why European leaders are left stunned and divided on live TV, and the secret strategy that proves Trump isn't just playing defense. He's writing the next chapter of history. So in this video, you're going to see exactly why this moment may go down in history as the turning point where Trump outsmarted Europe, revealed the deal that nobody saw coming, and set the stage for a new world order. Now, if you appreciate the news updates, please hit the like button and subscribe. I really appreciate you guys. Now, here's a question for you. When your Medicare plan overcharges you or cuts your benefits, who wins? It's not you. It's the insurance companies. And this is exactly why I partner with Chapter, because they flip that equation. They help you win. One of our viewers, Sharon, she was dropped from Medicaid and she was left hanging. Chapter stepped in and found her a new Medicare plan that gave her peace of mind. Another viewer, Leslie, she called in and she realized that she was overpaying by $1,000 a year. Chapter solved that instantly. It's amazing. So ask yourself, am I okay with letting my insurance company win, or do I want to take control? Well, most people are already making that choice, and they're calling the number down below on the screen right now. Phone number is 909-563-8279, or visiting askchapter.org/Ron, because nobody wants to be the last one stuck on the losing side. Am I right? Now, folks, the stakes could not be higher. Just yesterday, the world watched as European leaders stormed into Washington, believing that they would just pressure President Trump into their version of peace talks. Well, they came armed with demands, conditions, and ultimatums. But what happened instead? Donald J. Trump turned the tables. Now, here's the central question that we have to ask today. Why did Europe push so hard? And how did Trump outsmart them? Because make no mistake, what unfolded inside the Oval Office is way bigger than just another meeting. This was a battle between two visions of peace: Europe's slow, cautious, bureaucratic process, and Trump's bold, urgent, America First strategy to stop the bloodshed now. And let's be honest, Europe expected Trump to fold. They expected him to play along with their lectures. Instead, he did what no one else had the courage to do. He proposed a direct path forward. Now, this brings us to Trump's strategic Trilat proposal. So while the Europeans argued for months of, conditions and paperwork, Trump cut straight through that. He said, look, let's get Putin and Zelenskyy in the same room. No endless delay, no hiding behind committees, just a direct meeting. And if it takes a trilateral US, Ukraine, Russia, Trump was ready to sit down himself. Immediately, Europe pushed back. No meeting without a ceasefire. They insisted. Germany, Italy, France, all of them locked into the same talking point. Nothing moves forward until Russia agrees to stop firing. Sounds safe, right? But here's the issue. Trump knows what Europe doesn't want to admit. Every week this war drags on, 5,000 to 7,000 more people die. Every week of daily, every week that they delay means another 40,000 deaths before anyone even sits at the table. So here's the real question for you watching this show right now. Is Trump brilliant for pressing negotiations without waiting on a ceasefire, or reckless for bypassing Europe's conditions? That's the line that literally divided the Oval Office yesterday. And it's the same line that's dividing the world right now. And folks, this is only the beginning, because while Europe was arguing in circles about ceasefires and conditions, President Trump just made a move that none of them saw coming. This is a move that proves exactly why he's 10 steps ahead of every so-called diplomat in the room. So while the European leaders sat there demanding guarantees and preaching about process, President Trump quietly stood up and did something that no one else in the room had the balls to do. He picked up the phone. He called Vladimir Putin directly, not in front of the cameras, not for show, not even in front of the European leaders. Trump stepped aside and said, look, I'll handle this myself. And let's be clear, that's not weakness, that's strength. Because unlike Joe Biden, who spent years frozen and disconnected, Donald J. Trump has always understood that sometimes diplomacy requires a direct line. And think about the symbolism here, okay? The Europeans couldn't even get Putin to take their calls for years. Biden's White House had no communication at all. Yet in the middle of this tense moment, at 1 a.m, Moscow time, Putin picked up the phone when Trump called him. That doesn't happen by accident, guys. That happens because Trump commands respect. And so here's where it gets even more powerful. Trump didn't just talk about politics or borders. He went straight to the heart of the issue, lives. He reminded everyone that between 5,000 and 7,000 people are being killed every single week that this war drags on. Let that sink in. By the time Europe finishes another round of meetings and working papers, 40,000 men and women and children could be dead. Now, Trump looked at that hard reality and said, enough is enough here. This is not waiting another month. He is not waiting 2 months. He told Putin and Zelenskyy it's time to meet. And he's prepared to join them, even if he's prepared to join them himself, if it means saving lives. So now ask yourself this, guys. Is Europe's obsession with conditions and procedures costing innocent lives? Or is Trump's willingness to bypass the red tape the only thing that's standing between peace and another year of slaughter? Because that is the choice that's being forced on the world right now. Europe delays, Trump acts. Now, if you think that this is pretty controversial, wait until you hear how President Trump confronted the biggest flashpoint of all, Crimea and NATO. This is the emotional core of the entire showdown, guys. And this is really where the battle lies between Trump and Europe. And the lines are drawn sharper than ever before. So here's where it all came to a head. Basically, the flashpoint that electrified the entire room, Crimea and NATO. President Trump, he laid it out with brutal honesty. He said, look, what nobody else dares to say out loud, this war didn't just begin in 2022. It began when Barack Obama gave away Crimea in what Trump called one of the worst real estate deals in history. No shots were fired, no resistance. Russia took it like candy from a baby. And from that moment forward, Ukraine lost its heart and soul. Trump also reminded the world that NATO expansion was always going to be a red line for Russia, not just under Putin, but for decades, even back to the Soviet era. So that doesn't mean that he approves of Moscow's aggression. Far from it. What it means is that Trump has the courage to look reality in the eye and say, look, if we want peace, we need to understand what set this fire in the first place. So now compare that to Europe's position. They insist Crimea is illegally occupied and it must be fully reclaimed. That's what Europe is saying. That's Europe's stance. They're arguing that anything less than total reversal is surrender. So sounds noble on paper, right? But ask yourself this: does it actually bring peace, or does it guarantee an endless war? And this is really the situation that we need to sit down with right now. Is Trump's realist framing the only path to stop the bloodshed, or is it, as Europe claims, dangerous appeasement? That question is really dividing not just the leaders in Washington, but millions of people that are watching across the world today. But Trump didn't stop there. He outmaneuvered Europe again with something that nobody expected: security guarantees without NATO. Now, think about that, right? NATO membership for Ukraine was the hill Europe wanted to die on, but Russia would never accept NATO on its border. That was the spark that helped ignite this war. So what did Trump do? He cut straight to the solution. He got Putin Trump got Putin to tentatively essentially agree to a NATO-style protection for Ukraine, a shield against future aggression, without the formal NATO membership that Moscow would never tolerate. This is classic Trump. Protect Ukraine, avoid a NATO-Russia war, and keep American troops out of Europe's mess, all in one fell swoop. Guys, the Europeans were skeptical. They didn't believe it. They wanted paperwork, signatures, endless debates. But Trump had already done what they couldn't do. He got both sides to even closer terms that actually stopped the fighting. Now, whether Europe likes it or not, Trump has forced them to face a reality that they've been dodging for years. You can't get peace without compromise, and you can't keep throwing American lives and dollars into a war that you don't intend to end. And so then came the most uncomfortable truth of all: the land and Donbas reality. So President Trump, he didn't sugarcoat it. He looked at the map and he told the truth. He said, hey, look, Russia already controls huge parts of the Donbas, 79% by some counts. Now, those aren't just some talking points. These are facts on the ground. And while European leaders demanded total restoration of every inch of Ukrainian territory, Trump asked the question that nobody else dared. How many more lives are you willing to sacrifice chasing something that may never be regained through war? Now, this isn't weakness. This is realism. Trump knows Ukraine's soldiers are brave and America has given them the most advanced weapons in the world. But he also knows that Russia is 10 times larger. I mean, it's just basic math. And, they also have a massive military machine. Endless fighting over land won't bring back the homes, the families, or the children that are already lost. And speaking of children, this is where Trump showed the side of himself that the media never wants you to see: his compassion. So in the middle of all of the posturing, all the talk about borders and armies, Trump reminded everyone that the human cost, the thousands of Ukrainian children kidnapped, torn from their families, trafficked, abused, whatever, he made it personal. He revealed that Melania Trump herself wrote a letter to President Putin pleading for those children to be returned. A first lady's handwritten appeal to end their suffering. Think about that, guys. Melania Trump handwriting a letter to President Putin. What do y'all think about that? This almost sounds like a first for me. Well, while Europe was arguing over conditions and paperwork, Trump and Melania Trump, they were focused on the kids, on families, on prisoners who have been rotting in cells, on the civilians paying the price for Europe's endless bureaucracy. Now, this is really why this moment hit so hard, because Trump wasn't just negotiating deals. He was fighting to bring children home. He was showing heart while still showing strength. Now, put yourself in the room. On the one side, Europe saying, wait for guarantees. But on the other side, Trump saying, stop the dying, bring the kids home, and let's get some peace on the table now. So which side would you stand with? And folks, this brings us to a piece of the story that might just change how you see the entire war. Trump's America First strategy in action, because while Biden gave away billions with no endgame, Trump has reshaped NATO, flipped the money flow, and cut deals that protect America first. And this is really where Trump really pulled the rug out from under Europe by putting America first. Remember how Biden, or at least under Biden, the U.S. shoveled out hundreds of billions of dollars with no accountability, endless aid packages, no strings attached, all while America's own border, economy, and people were left to fend for themselves? Well, that era right there is over. Trump made it crystal clear. America is no longer footing the bill for Europe's wars. He forced NATO to step up from just 2% contributions under Biden all the way up to 5% today. What's that like? It's like 150% increase. That is trillions of dollars that Europe is now paying instead of leeching off of American taxpayers. Wow. So here's the kicker. Trump didn't just stop the flow of cash. He flipped it into an economic win for us. NATO nations don't get free handouts anymore. They buy American weapons at full price. We make it, they pay for it, and then NATO decides what they want to do with it. So including whether Ukraine gets the equipment or not. So that's not charity. That is business. And on top of that, Trump cut massive rare earth deals worth more than the $350 billion that Biden recklessly just gave away. This is why Europe's leaders looked rattled. They weren't expecting a U.S. president to stand up and say, hey, look, we're protecting our people first, and we're not your piggy bank anymore. And make no mistake, they were caught off guard. Germany, Italy, the UK, Finland, France, each one tried to press Trump with their demands, their conditions, their lectures. But while they talked, Trump acted. While they bickered over legal language, Trump was on the phone with Putin. While they insisted on ceasefires and paperwork, Trump was cutting a path to real negotiations. This was a stunning contrast. Europe lectures, Trump negotiates. Europe talks about tomorrow, Trump fights to stop the killing today. That, folks, this is why this moment may go down as historic, because Trump didn't just change the conversation. He forced Europe to face reality. But if you think that this was only about outmaneuvering Europe, then think again, guys, because the bigger the story, the bigger the outcome. Okay. This is Trump's vision, not just to end this war, but to end wars, period. Now, this brings us to the bigger picture, because what President Trump showed in Washington wasn't just about Ukraine. It wasn't just about Europe. It was about his vision for peace. Now, remember, Trump is the only modern president who didn't start a single new war. In fact, he's the one who helped end them. India and Pakistan, Rwanda and Congo, the Iran nuclear escalation. These are conflicts that dragged on for decades. These were put to bed under his watch. And so now Trump is tackling what many call the most dangerous conflict since World War II. That's not luck. That's not chance. That's leadership. Trump believes America's role isn't to endlessly fund foreign wars. It's to use our leverage, our strength, and our influence to shut them down before they spiral into global catastrophes. And so this is why yesterday really, really mattered, because Trump's not just negotiating terms. He's showing Europe and the world that real peace doesn't come from dragging things out. It comes from making hard decisions now, which leads to the question that only you can answer. Who's really protecting lives, America, and global stability? Is it Europe clinging to the idea that Crimea must be reclaimed, that NATO must expand, even if it means years and years more bloodshed? Or is it Donald J. Trump who says recognizing reality is the only way to stop the killing, bring children home, and secure peace without sacrificing American lives or treasure? This is the choice history is forcing on us right now. And yesterday in Washington, Trump showed exactly why he's 10 steps ahead, why he outsmarted Europe, revealed the Zelenskyy deal, and laid out a Putin strategy that could change everything. So let me leave you with this, guys. The media is going to spin, the pundits are going to scream, the politicians are going to posture. But when the dust settles, one fact remains. Trump's the only leader on the global stage willing to take the risks, to make the calls, and to fight for peace in a way that seems, in a world that seems addicted to war. So what do you think, guys? I'd love to hear from you. Drop me your thoughts in the comments down below. And YouTube thinks you're really going to enjoy the next video that just popped up on your screen. And I promise it dives even deeper into how this global shift is unfolding. Go ahead and check that out right now, and I'll see you on the other side.